want, I want the facts, but I also look at facts from Pfizer, where they spent a lot of money, and the other drug companies, they spent a lot of money on finding out the results after the fact, and the results were amazingly good. He's saying for older people, yeah, he's saying for older people, a lot of people agree with that, and but I can tell you this, Operation Warp Speed, one of the greatest things a president has ever done for this country. And you can say the world, because when we came up with that vaccine, the whole world opened up. But I put Bobby there as somebody that will go either way. And I want, I want the facts, but I also look at facts from Pfizer, where they spent a lot of money, and the other drug companies, they spent a lot of money on finding out the results after the fact, and the results were amazingly good. Yeah, please.
I'm wondering if you've seen the video put out by former Israeli hostages addressed to you. One is a widow of the one that died, and these are people who were freed thanks to you. But they're actually encouraging you to force a ceasefire, force Netanyahu to a ceasefire, and they didn't address it to him because they think you're the one who might actually listen to them and get it done. They're worried that the hostages who are still there are more at risk if the war continues.
Well, they might be. They also, maybe they'll be freed because of that. You never know how it's going to look. War, I was saying, is war, a lot of strange things happen. A lot of results take place that you would never think were going to happen. As you know, I was able to get most of the hostages out. We're down to 20, and we have 32 dead people, you know that. We have 32, maybe more, 38, but between 32 and 38 people that were dead, mostly young people. And I've dealt with some of the parents. And we got all our Americans out, as you know, but and now we're talking about mostly Israelis. But I dealt with parents, I spoke to parents, and they want the body of their son, I believe in almost all cases sons, but they want the body of their cherished, beautiful son. They want the body back as much as though he were alive. It's so sad to see. But I've dealt with the mothers and fathers. Please, sir, please, the body of my son. They know he's dead, and they just want him back. They want him back as much as though he's alive. I mean, it's very terrible, and we have very close to 40 bodies that are included in the whole thing. But we have 20, probably 20 that are living. It might be a little bit less because a couple of things. Look, young people don't die, okay? They just don't die. And they can take a lot, but a lot of people died in these horrible tunnels. They're mostly in the tunnels. I know a lot about it. I got them out. But I always said the last 20, when you get down to the last 10 or 20, it's going to be very tough. It's a nasty situation. You can't forget October 7th, but it's a nasty situation, terrible. It's a terrible thing.
On Gaza, the UN concluded this week that Israel committed genocide in Gaza. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't seen that. I'm looking at it, but did anybody commit genocide on October 7th? What do you think about that? That was genocide at the highest level. That was murder, genocide, you can call it whatever you want, but little babies were chopped in half. Arms were cut off people, heads were cut off people. That's genocide. That's genocide also, I guess, right?
President, on TikTok, you referred to getting a fee from that deal. What is that fee?
Well, it hasn't been fully negotiated, but we'll get something from the standpoint that we worked hard, we put up a lot, we spent a lot of money on letting this come and letting this, it's a very, very big deal. It's a very powerful deal. And the United States really, I see it. I mean, people were saying, save TikTok, save TikTok. So many people. It's a big thing. And, China can be very proud that they were able to get that started. And so I very much appreciate President Xi's working with us on that. Very much.
What comes next after designating Antifa?
Well, we have others that we're going to designate too, but we're going to look at the people that funded Antifa, see who they are, where they came from, and why they did. Have you seen Portland at all? Have you taken a look at what's happening in Portland? It's, this has been going on for years. It's just people out of control and crazy. We're going to stop that very soon. We have to get rid of a couple of other problems first. We're going to get rid of the problems in Memphis where you can't even walk a block without getting shot. We're going to get rid of the problems in Chicago. Chicago's a great city and we have to save it. We have to save it. I told you I had the head of the Union Pacific Railroad in my office and I said, so what do you think? You go to every city, you have railroads in you are the biggest railroad, beautiful railroad, he's a great guy. I said, what do you think? He said, sir, save Chicago, don't let it go down, save it. The way he said it was so meaningful to me. It was so like terrible. In a way, it was terrible. Save Chicago. You know, who would ever think that we'd be sitting here talking about saving Chicago? Chicago's a great city. They have a terrible mayor. Terrible. He's at like 5% approval rating. He's an incompetent person. They have an incompetent governor, in my opinion. He's incompetent. 11 people get shot, and he says crime isn't a good shot. I mean, they're losing 4, 5, 6 people a week, getting killed by bullets, by knives. And then he says how wonderful it is, Chicago. So, well, it might be wonderful for him. I think they're afraid. Look, he's not a stupid guy. I really believe they're afraid to say, politically, I guess, from an ideology standpoint, from a democratic standpoint, he is afraid to say the fact that they have a very unsafe, very dangerous city. He should say, I'm going to call President Donald Trump and I'm going to ask him to send in the troops, to send in the National Guard and clean this hellhole up. Because Chicago can be a great city again. I'll tell you what, Washington, D.C. is a great place again. It's booming, and the restaurants are booming. And 6 months ago, 7 months ago, nobody could go outside. And even just walking around the White House, people here are thanking me for what I've done. They're thanking me. They're saying thank you. And I almost know what they mean because they can walk to work. And even when they took Uber and they took other forms of transportation, they felt unsafe because the car was hijacked while they're in there. They take a car and it's being hijacked as they get into the car. And they did that for safety. And now we have a safe place. You know, we've taken 1,500 people out of career criminals have been taken out of Washington, D.C. And we weren't very nice about it. And you can't.
What do you think about rail merger? Did you discuss it with the Union Pacific?
I did discuss it, and I don't want to make a comment on it, but Union Pacific is a great railroad, and they want to add a railroad that had a mistake at a place very close to my heart. You know, a lot of people say that that was a place where I got off to a very good start. It was a rough thing that happened. Well, they're trying to buy that railroad that had the problem. And it sounds good to me, to be honest with you. Sounds good to me. I'm a very big fan of the head of the railroad, the head of the Union Pacific. He started as a very low on the totem pole, started his job very low and became the chairman of the company over a 45-year period. But I asked him about different cities. He said, St. Louis is tough. We try, you know, he sort of stops at many of them. New Orleans. We have to save New Orleans.
Mr. President, when are you going to get
We're going to be going into New York too. Yeah.
Mr. President,
And we're going to be going in quiet. You're really obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I'm trying to ask you, what about your plans?
You are
for
really
Memphis?
obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious.